Have you ever stopped to ask yourself what it truly means to master yourself? In today's fast-paced world, where we're constantly bombarded by distractions and challenges, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. The desire for peace, balance, and control over our emotions often seems just out of reach. But what if the key to mastering yourself isn't something you have to search for, but something you already have within you? In this video, we'll explore 10 powerful lessons from Buddhism that offer timeless wisdom for mastering the mind, emotions, and actions. These teachings are not just ancient philosophical ideas. They are practical tools that can help guide us toward a more centered, mindful, and peaceful life. Whether you're looking to find inner peace, develop emotional resilience, or simply gain more clarity in your everyday life, these lessons can be a powerful source of guidance. Buddhism teaches that true mastery begins with understanding ourselves, our thoughts, our habits, and our deeper nature. It's not about perfection. It's about cultivating awareness, compassion, and a sense of inner calm. As we explore these lessons together, you may discover that mastering yourself is not a destination, but a journey that starts with the very first step toward self-awareness. So, let's take a deep breath, open our hearts, and begin the path toward mastering yourself with these 10 powerful lessons from Buddhism. 1. The Power of Mindfulness. Let's begin with the first powerful lesson, the power of mindfulness. In Buddhism, mindfulness is seen as the key to mastering the mind. It's the practice of being fully present in the moment, not lost in the past, nor anxiously anticipating the future. By cultivating mindfulness, we can free ourselves from the constant chatter of the mind and experience life as it truly is. But what does mindfulness really mean? It's more than just being aware of your surroundings. It's about paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and actions without judgment. It's about observing, rather than reacting. Mindfulness allows us to break free from autopilot mode, where we often act out of habit or emotion, and instead choose how we respond to each moment. In the teachings of the Buddha, mindfulness is often linked to meditation, but it's not just something you do while sitting quietly. Mindfulness can be practiced in every moment while eating, walking, or even engaging in conversations. It's about being fully engaged in whatever you're doing, with complete awareness. When we practice mindfulness, we develop the ability to step back and observe our thoughts and emotions without getting swept away by them. This gives us more control over how we react, allowing us to respond with wisdom rather than being driven by impulsive reactions or negative patterns. So how can we begin cultivating mindfulness in our own lives? Start small. Begin by paying attention to your breath. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, take a moment to focus on the rhythm of your breathing. This simple practice can ground you in the present moment and create a sense of calm amidst the chaos. As the Buddha said, when you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you. This profound truth reminds us that mindfulness is not about achieving something outside of ourselves, but about discovering the peace and fullness that already exist within us. 2. The art of letting go. Moving on to the second powerful lesson, the art of letting go. In Buddhism, one of the most profound teachings is that attachment is the root of suffering. We cling to people, possessions, past experiences, and even our own expectations, believing that holding on tightly will bring us happiness or security. But the truth is, attachment only creates stress and limits our freedom. Letting go is not about abandoning what we love, but rather releasing the grip that keeps us chained to things that no longer serve us. It's about recognizing the impermanence of life and learning to flow with the natural changes that come our way. We don't need to control every outcome or resist every difficulty. Instead, we can learn to embrace the ebb and flow of life with acceptance and grace. Buddhism teaches us that everything in life is temporary. Our emotions, our relationships, even our own thoughts and experiences. When we try to hold on to these things as if they are permanent, we create unnecessary suffering. But by practicing the art of letting go, we open ourselves to peace, freedom, and the possibility of new experiences. Letting go also means releasing negative emotions like anger, resentment, and fear. These emotions weigh us down and cloud our judgment. When we hold on to grudges or past hurts, we continue to carry the burden of those experiences with us. But by letting go of these attachments, we free ourselves from the past and allow ourselves to experience the present more fully. So, how can we begin to practice letting go? Start by becoming aware of your attachments. What are you holding on to in your life that no longer serves you? Whether it's an old belief, a past relationship, or a painful memory, acknowledge it and choose to release it. This can be as simple as taking a deep breath and reminding yourself that it's okay to let go. As the Buddha wisely said, "You only lose what you cling to. When we let go, we make space for peace, joy, and the infinite possibilities of the present moment." 3. Cultivating compassion. Now, let's dive into the third powerful lesson, cultivating compassion. Compassion, or karuna, is at the heart of Buddhist teachings. It's the deep awareness of the suffering of others, combined with the desire to alleviate that suffering. Compassion is not just a feeling, but a practice, one that requires us to open our hearts and actively care for the well-being of others. In a world that often emphasizes individual success, Buddhism reminds us that true mastery comes from the ability to care deeply for others. Compassion teaches us that we are not separate from each other, but interconnected. When we show kindness, understanding, and empathy, we not only help others heal but also heal ourselves in the process. This doesn't mean we should sacrifice our own well-being or become martyrs, but rather that we recognize the shared humanity in everyone and respond with care, especially in times of suffering. Compassion allows us to see beyond our own desires and fears, helping us build deeper, more meaningful connections with others. The Buddha taught that the greatest form of compassion is loving kindness, metta. Loving kindness is the desire for all beings to be happy, free from suffering, and at peace. It's an unconditional love that doesn't depend on whether others love us in return. It's the kind of love that is offered freely, with no expectation of reward. How can we begin cultivating compassion in our own lives? Start by being present with others. Listen without judgment. Offer a kind word, a warm smile, or a helping hand. Practice seeing people not as problems to be solved, but as human beings worthy of love and understanding. The more we practice compassion, the more we begin to transform not just our relationships but also our own hearts. As the Buddha said, "If your compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete." This reminder teaches us that in order to truly show compassion to others, we must first learn to extend that same kindness and care to ourselves. 4. Embracing impermanence. Now, let's explore the fourth lesson, embracing impermanence. In Buddhism, one of the fundamental teachings is that everything in life is impermanent. Nothing lasts forever. This includes our emotions, our experiences, our relationships, and even our lives. The concept of anicca, or impermanence, can be unsettling at first, but it is also a key to freedom and inner peace. When we resist change or try to hold on to the past, we create suffering. We wish that things could stay the same, but change is the nature of all things. Whether we're experiencing joy or pain, both are temporary. Life is constantly shifting, and this understanding helps us let go of attachments and embrace the flow of life with grace, rather than fearing change. Buddhism teaches us to accept it as a natural part of existence. By embracing impermanence, we can learn to live more fully in the present moment, without clinging to past regrets or future worries. When we accept that all things come and go, we begin to find peace in the idea that we don't need to control everything. We can simply be with what is, as it is. Embracing impermanence also allows us to appreciate the preciousness of each moment. When we understand that nothing is guaranteed, we can begin to live more intentionally, cherishing the people and experiences that come into our lives. Every moment becomes an opportunity to practice gratitude, knowing that it may not last forever. How can we begin to embrace impermanence in our own lives? Start by observing the natural changes around you. Watch how the seasons change, how flowers bloom and wither, how emotions rise and fall. Reflect on the transient nature of everything in your life, and use that awareness to let go of the need for control. When you accept that change is inevitable, you can experience greater peace and freedom. As the Buddha wisely said, everything that has the nature of arising has the nature of ceasing. This reminder helps us understand that nothing, no matter how beautiful or difficult, lasts forever, and that is what makes each moment truly precious. 5. The importance of right speech. Let's move on to the fifth lesson, the importance of right speech. In Buddhism, speech is seen as a powerful tool that can either build or destroy. The Buddha taught that our words can create peace or cause harm, build bridges or tear them down. Right speech, samavaka, is one of the key elements of the Noble Eightfold Path, and it involves speaking truthfully, kindly, and with the intention to bring about harmony. Right speech goes beyond simply avoiding lies or gossip. It's about communicating with integrity, clarity, and respect. When we speak, we should ask ourselves, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it kind? These questions can guide our words and help us avoid unnecessary conflict, misunderstanding, or harm to others. In today's world, where words are often used to manipulate, criticize, or attack, practicing right speech is especially important. We are constantly engaging with others through words, whether in person, on social media, or in our thoughts. Our words have the power to lift others up or tear them down, to create peace or fuel conflict. By choosing our words wisely, we can create an atmosphere of respect, understanding, and compassion. But right speech is not only about what we say to others. It's also about how we speak to ourselves. Negative self-talk can be just as damaging as harsh words spoken to others. Buddhism teaches that we should treat ourselves with the same kindness and respect we offer to others. The way we speak to ourselves shapes our self-esteem and our outlook on life. How can we begin practicing right speech in our daily lives? Start by being mindful of the words you use. Pause before speaking and consider their impact. Are your words adding value, or are they causing unnecessary harm? Also, practice being kind and compassionate in your inner dialogue. Speak to yourself with encouragement and love, rather than criticism or judgment. As the Buddha wisely said, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. This reminds us that the true power of speech lies not in quantity, but in its ability to bring about true harmony and understanding. 6. The power of patience. Now, let's explore the sixth lesson, the power of patience. In Buddhism, patience is seen as an essential quality for cultivating inner peace and wisdom. Life is full of challenges, delays, and moments when things don't go as planned. Often, we want things to happen immediately, but the Buddha teaches us that true peace comes when we can accept life's natural rhythm and wait with calmness and understanding. Patience is not passive. It's an active practice of remaining calm in the face of difficulty. It's the ability to endure discomfort, frustration, or uncertainty without reacting impulsively or with anger. Patience is the recognition that everything happens in its own time, and that rushing or forcing outcomes only creates more stress and resistance. The Buddha taught that patience is crucial in both our external circumstances and our internal emotional reactions. When we are faced with difficult people or challenging situations, patience allows us to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. It's about maintaining composure and clarity, no matter the external circumstances. Patience also plays a vital role in our personal growth. In our fast-paced world, we often want quick results, whether in our work, relationships, or spiritual practices. However, Buddhism teaches us that true transformation takes time. Just as a tree grows slowly from a seed, our wisdom and compassion develop gradually through consistent effort and practice. How can we cultivate patience in our lives? Start by noticing when you feel impatience arising. Whether you're waiting in line, dealing with a difficult person, or facing a challenging task, take a moment to pause and breathe. Remind yourself that patience is a choice. It's an opportunity to practice mindfulness and to remain peaceful even when things aren't going as planned. As the Buddha said, "A fool is quick to anger, but the wise are patient and calm." This timeless teaching reminds us that patience is not just about waiting. It's about cultivating the inner strength to remain centered amidst life's challenges. 7. The power of self-awareness. Now, let's turn to the 7th lesson, the power of self-awareness. In Buddhism, self-awareness is key to understanding our true nature and overcoming suffering. It's the practice of turning our attention inward, observing our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without judgment. By cultivating self-awareness, we gain clarity about our habits, our patterns, and the deeper motivations behind our actions. Self-awareness is not about criticizing ourselves or trying to change who we are. Instead, it's about seeing ourselves clearly, without illusion or delusion. It's about recognizing our strengths and weaknesses, and accepting ourselves as we are, while also having the wisdom to recognize where growth is needed. The Buddha taught that many of our struggles arise from ignorance, not seeing things as they truly are. When we lack self-awareness, we are driven by unconscious desires, fears, and attachments that lead us into confusion and suffering. But through mindfulness and reflection, we can begin to see the truth of our own minds, understanding the patterns that shape our lives. Self-awareness also allows us to take responsibility for our actions. When we are aware of our thoughts and emotions, we can choose how to respond, rather than reacting impulsively. This helps us break free from old habits and harmful patterns, allowing us to create more positive and constructive outcomes in our lives. So, how can we cultivate self-awareness? One powerful way is through meditation. By sitting quietly and observing our thoughts without attachment, we can begin to understand the nature of our minds. Another way is through journaling. Writing down our thoughts and reflections can help us clarify what's truly important to us and what might be holding us back. As the Buddha said, "You only lose what you cling to." This reminds us that by cultivating self-awareness, we can let go of the attachments that bind us, opening the path to true freedom and peace. 8. The importance of non-attachment. Now, let's explore the 8th lesson, the importance of non-attachment. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is that attachment is the source of suffering. We attach ourselves to people, things, outcomes, and even our own identities, believing that these things will bring us lasting happiness. But the Buddha taught that all things are impermanent, and by clinging to them, we set ourselves up for disappointment and pain. Non-attachment doesn't mean we should avoid relationships or possessions, or that we should become indifferent to life. Rather, it's about cultivating the ability to appreciate things without becoming overly attached to them. It's about enjoying the present moment without clinging to the idea that it will last forever. When we practice non-attachment, we learn to enjoy life fully, but without the anxiety of fearing loss or change. Attachment can take many forms: attachment to material possessions, to relationships, to our status, or even to our own sense of self. But the more we cling to these things, the more vulnerable we become to suffering when they inevitably change or disappear. Non-attachment is the wisdom of recognizing that everything is temporary, and by not becoming overly attached, we free ourselves from the grip of desire and fear. In relationships, non-attachment allows us to love others deeply without expecting anything in return or clinging to the outcome. In work, it helps us focus on doing our best, without tying our sense of worth to success or failure. And in personal growth, it allows us to let go of the need to be perfect, accepting ourselves as we are while still striving to improve. So how can we practice non-attachment in our daily lives? Begin by observing where you feel attached. Are there things or people in your life that you feel you cannot live without? Are you holding onto expectations or outcomes that cause you anxiety? Reflect on these attachments and try to release them gently. By learning to let go, we create space for more peace and freedom. As the Buddha said, the root of suffering is attachment. When we practice non-attachment, we free ourselves from the cycle of craving and suffering, and we open ourselves to the fullness of the present moment. 9. The Path of Wisdom. Let's now move to the 9th lesson, the Path of Wisdom. In Buddhism, wisdom or prajna is considered one of the most important qualities to cultivate on the path to enlightenment. Wisdom is not just intellectual knowledge, but the deep, experiential understanding of the nature of reality. It's the ability to see things as they truly are, beyond the illusions and distractions of the mind. The Buddha taught that true wisdom arises when we see through the veil of ignorance and delusion. We begin to understand that our suffering is not caused by external circumstances, but by our own attachments, desires, and misconceptions. Wisdom helps us see that everything is interconnected and that all phenomena are impermanent, which allows us to let go of attachments and cultivate a deeper sense of peace. One of the core aspects of wisdom is understanding the Four Noble Truths, the foundation of Buddhist teachings. These truths reveal the nature of suffering, its causes, its cessation, and the path leading to the end of suffering. Wisdom allows us to deeply comprehend these truths, not just intellectually, but as lived experience. It's the ability to recognize suffering when it arises and to respond to it with clarity and compassion. But wisdom doesn't come overnight. It is developed gradually through practice, reflection, and mindfulness. Every moment of awareness is an opportunity to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. As we practice meditation, mindfulness, and the other Buddhist teachings, we begin to accumulate wisdom one insight at a time. How can we begin cultivating wisdom in our own lives? Start by questioning your assumptions. Ask yourself if what you believe is truly in line with reality, or if it's shaped by past experiences and conditioning. Reflect on your own suffering, what causes it, and how can you transform it? The more we seek understanding, the more wisdom naturally arises. As the Buddha said, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. This reminds us that wisdom is not something to be sought in the future, but something to be cultivated in the present moment, through our actions, our awareness, and our understanding of the world. 10. The Power of Inner Peace. Finally, let's reflect on the 10th and final lesson, the power of inner peace. In Buddhism, inner peace is not just a fleeting state of calm, but a deep, unshakable sense of tranquility that comes from within. It is the result of a mind that is free from the constant turbulence of desires, fears, and attachments. When we cultivate inner peace, we are no longer tossed around by the storms of life, but can remain grounded in the face of challenges. The Buddha taught that peace is the natural state of the mind when it is free from craving, anger, and ignorance. The practice of meditation is one of the most effective ways to experience this inner peace, as it helps quiet the mind and cultivate a deep sense of presence. But inner peace is not just found in stillness. It can be nurtured in everyday life through mindfulness, compassion, and acceptance. When we have inner peace, we can face life's difficulties with equanimity. We are not overwhelmed by stress or anxiety because we understand that everything is temporary, and we can respond to challenges with clarity and compassion rather than fear or frustration. Inner peace allows us to navigate life with wisdom, responding to each situation with a calm and balanced mind. Buddhism teaches that true happiness is not found in external circumstances, but in cultivating a peaceful and harmonious mind. When we nurture our inner peace, we radiate that peace outwards, creating a positive impact on the world around us. As the Buddha said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. By embracing this teaching, we can discover the transformative power of inner peace in our own lives. Conclusion: mastering yourself through Buddhist wisdom. As we've explored today, the path to mastering yourself is rooted in the timeless wisdom of Buddhism. Each of the 10 lessons we've discussed, mindfulness, letting go, compassion, impermanence, right speech, patience, self-awareness, non-attachment, wisdom, And inner peace offers a powerful tool for transforming your life and finding true mastery over your mind, body, and spirit. Remember, mastery isn't about perfection. It's about continuous growth, learning, and self-awareness. It's a journey that takes time, patience, and consistent effort. But the more we apply these teachings in our daily lives, the more we start to see profound changes, not just in ourselves, but in our relationships, our work, and our overall experience of the world. If you found these lessons helpful, I invite you to join us on this journey of deeper exploration. In our next video, we'll dive even deeper into Buddhist principles, exploring how to apply these teachings in the modern world, and how you can cultivate a life filled with more clarity, purpose, and peace. So, what's the next step for you on this path? How can you take these lessons and start practicing them today? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about your journey and the ways you're incorporating these teachings into your life. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on our upcoming videos where we'll continue to explore how to live a more mindful, peaceful, and enlightened life. Thank you for watching. And remember, the journey to mastering yourself is ongoing, but every step you take brings you closer to the peace and wisdom you seek.